Ladies and gentlemen,
Welcome once again to the TangentCast.
how have you been?
Pretty good. I got dragged to some family event last night and went in a casino for the first time in my life. I won 20 quid on the slots and I stopped there. Because normally like the slots I'll pay are like the ones in the arcade where you can win like a fiver or whatever.
Go on.
And I'll win and go, yay! Let's win more, and then put it all back into the machine. This time I was like, no, 20 quid, I'm good.
You'll quit while you're ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I played a little bit of roulette just because I never have. Didn't win anything there, and that was literally it. It was for gambling, so it was cool. But, you know, I don't know how to play poker or anything, so I didn't do that. What about you?
I ache.
Yeah, that too. Me too. Yeah,
Yeah.
My whole body hurts at this point.
Pretty much, I went to the gym and I've started to lift heavily again, so my body's like, you're doing that thing again, dude.
Yeah, mine is as well. Like, oh yeah, I remember this. Oh wait, stop! You're doing more than no.
It's kind of annoying though, because I was saying to a friend actually on Facebook, one of the things that really irritates me about the gym we're both using is the weights only go up to like 36 kilograms for the dumbbells. The barbells you can stack whatever. So it's like, I'm just wrapping out 36 kg dumbbells and I'm like, you get to like 20 odd reps and you're like, well, this is getting a bit frustrating now.
Yeah, no, I mean obviously that's not a problem for me, but I can see how that would be frustrating.
So it's like, you know, you're switching between them. But aside from that, yeah, pretty alive and kicking.
Cool. What have you been playing this week? More Street Fighter?
Street Fighter.
Fighter.
And just, excuse me, a little bit of the Darky Soulsy.
We'll get to that.
Yeah, and a little bit of the Quantum the Breaksy.
Cool.
And I actually loaded up the Sega Mega Drive collection.
Oh, okay.
Because basically Sega did an updatey thing on it, where they do moddy support. I don't know why I'm speaking like this suddenly. I think it's like low energy or something. But anywho's, it's pretty cool. It looks like your bedroom when you were 14, the interface. I'll show you it later.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
so
no,
you've got like Golden Axe.
I remember reading about it, but I haven't actually seen it.
It's really cool because you've got like Golden Axe posters in the game, and like it's pretty.
That sounds pretty awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty godlike. Excuse me. Now I'm choking on some hazelnuts I was eating.
So Street Fighter still good?
Yeah, I was playing this Guile.
Oh, how you finding Guile? Is it good?
Well, unfortunately, you don't get to do much of the thing I really like with Guile.
Sonic Boom.
Yeah, like I don't get to. That's my favourite part of the match. You don't get to use it often, so it's like
Yeah, it's got the old crack out the old flash kick as well.
yeah, exactly. I've got to admit though, like putting up the wall of like Sonic Booms and just like the rage of the opponent is pretty sweet. Like Sonic Boom, Sonic Boom. Oh, you're anti-airing me. Doink. Sonic Boom, Sonic Booms. Oh, you're jumping at me. Backbreaker. Sonic Boom, Sonic Boom.
Oh dear.
Yeah. It's only the rage and, you know...
It's only the tears that feed you.
Yeah, exactly. Aside from that, how about you?
Well, I've been playing a lot more Dark Souls 3, which
Okay.
shouldn't really surprise anybody at this point. I can't really say too much more about it other than what I've already said without going into spoiler territory.
Yeah, and that would get us a...
Yeah, so
get some
what
tears.
we should probably do in that regard is when we've both like got reasonably far in, we should just have like a special edition where we just talk about Dark Souls. Because I feel like there are people who've played the game who probably want to know our in-depth thoughts on it.
Okay.
But I can't really say anything other than yeah, it's really really good. Like I've already said, without going into spoiler territory.
You've played 1, 2, 3,
Yes.
and a little Bloodborne.
Yeah.
I don't think you played the
I haven't
Demon
played,
Souls.
I haven't played. Demon Souls is the only one I haven't really played.
Alright, rank them. Go!
Okay, it would go 3, then 1, then Bloodborne, then 2.
Okay, I think most people would agree 3 then Bloodborne, or 3 1 then Bloodborne, or 1 3 then Bloodborne, but everyone would have 2
I mean,
last.
well, I don't know everybody. I
people.
think most people would, but some people like
Sensible people. now we're going to get tears in the comments.
No. I mean, I think most people probably would put Dark Souls 2 last, but that's not to say it's a bad
To be honest,
game,
I
'cause
actually
it
quite
really
like
isn't.
number 2.
No, I like to. It's just missing something, and you can't really put your finger on what it is, but it is missing something. And the
talented designers.
Stop it. No, the game is still really good.
Can you see that I'm trying to troll people today?
Yes. Yes. The game is still really good, but it's just lacking that magic, and also the world design overall is...
She hit me, by the way.
It's not great. Like, which part is it? You're in like a windmill or something, and you go all the way to the top, or is it... Yeah, and then all of a sudden you're in like bloody Bowser's castle, lava everywhere.
And now we've been hit with content ID.
Yeah, so that Dark Souls 3 is much better in that regard. So.
Okay, fair enough. Shall we mosey on?
Yes. One quick thing. Words. I played a smidge of Paragon, the alpha, which is the game coming from Epic Games, a sort of MOBA thing. I don't play MOBA games, so...
So I fell asleep there, you said MOBA, and I just kind of turned it off.
Yeah, I mean, I played it because I thought, you know, it's Epic Games, but... I was like,
Epic,
I was just like, it's a MOBA, it's
okay, Epic, this is what you do, right? You release another Unreal tournament, right? And then you keep making your game engines, and it's all okay from there.
Yeah, well, clearly they want to make this, and it's not like it's bad, it's just a MOBA, and they really don't interest me.
Well, you know, just because you want to do something, it doesn't mean you should do something.
Yeah, and I loaded up Hearthstone for the first time in literally months, because the new expansion just
came out. And then you altered forward.
Well, no, because you could win some free packs by playing a quick game. So I was like, I'll get my free packs. I got them, and then I quit out again.
Seems about right, to be fair.
Yeah. Anyway, so that's all I've really been playing this week. So let's move on, I guess, to topics.
Would you like to start?
Sure. I guess we should start with the YouTube thing, since we are now talking on the YouTubes.
Yes.
They're finally kind of fixing copyright ID claims, and I say kind of because there's still a lot of problems.
It's about as
But you know, we've got someone who's got 2 broken legs here, and they're at least putting a splint on one of the legs.
Yeah, but they'll probably bust it some other way. They'll probably like...
Yeah, probably, knowing them. But...
Yeah, they'll be like, okay, now you can have a splint, but you know how you were using those crutches a minute ago? Well,
no, I mean...
Sucks to be you.
The content ID system still needs a lot of work.
Well, basically, they're now going to turn those crutches into the splints. So basically...
But just a quick sort of TLDR in case people haven't seen my video from the other day.
Watch.
Basically, at the moment, say we put up a video and it gets a copyright ID, it sometimes happens, and it's usually automated, and it's usually incorrect as well.
Which is
usually,
even worse.
It's usually some random company that has nothing to do with the video.
Yeah, do you know what pisses me off? It's like, you know, Bob's Power Tools will like give you a content.
The weirdest one
ID.
was when it said this video belongs to Rooster Teeth, and I was just like, no.
And then, you know, they were like, yeah, we didn't do that.
Obviously, it was automated. It wasn't them doing it, and they cleared it up without problem. But it was just the fact that the automated robot thought that it was. That's what I was just like.
Well,
what?
What about Ubisoft, where they've got content IDs on their own thing? Like that's happened to them before. It's ridiculous.
But at the moment, when you get a claim, even if a couple of days later or whatever, it's cleared up and you're in the right, that money that video was making over the last couple of days, you never see it.
Which is, to be honest with you, it's stealing.
It is, because some chancer will sign up to YouTube, say that they own this thing, when they don't, make money off your videos for like 2 days or 3 days or 30 days sometimes if they really want to push their luck, and then they get to keep that money.
Which is stealing.
Which is so silly that it was ever the fact.
Because you know what makes it worse as well is some musicians like who are creating their own original music. So, for example, some dude's writing a song and he's doing the instruments, he's doing the singing, he's doing everything. People will still put content IDs on his stuff.
Yeah.
And imagine you've got, let's say, for example, some of these dudes have got like 1 million, 2 million subs. So, what happens? Most videos are going to get most of their views in the first 30-ish days. So it's like...
It depends, but usually the first couple of days are the most crucial.
Yeah, so basically this guy who's created all his own original content, especially once again, who's written everything, he's basically getting his work stolen so he can re-upload the video.
Yeah.
It's pretty weak. And I think, to be honest with you, what makes this absolutely broken to fuck is that channels can do this and they don't have any repercussions.
Yeah.
And this is why I'm saying that if you issue strikes on a channel which are flagrantly incorrect... Hi, Konami! Yes, we're looking at you, you little bastards. I'm sorry, did I... I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Did I get carried away there?
Yeah, let's pull it back. Pull it back.
Oh, yeah. It's not like I'm bitter or anything at you, Konami. Anyway, and even if they're proved to be completely wankers and, you know, it's not right or anything like that, they don't get any repercussions, and I just think that's really and utterly, you know, wrong.
This new system will at least fix one of those problems, and that is...
They take away Konami's YouTube account?
No.
Oh. You have a problem then.
Yeah. So now, or at least when this thing rolls out, which they did say won't be for a couple of months,
of course.
Is
by a couple of months, couple of years.
Basically, like now, if a video gets an ID, it will still earn money as normal, but it will kind of be held in a third-party account, and then whoever wins the claim gets the money that the video earned at the end of that time.
See, what I don't understand,
which is way better, and they really need to crack down on people abusing copyright strikes, especially
like reviews and everything.
They need to do this because developers and people have just shown that they do not care and will abuse this to get a video they disagree with taken down, and they can just do this and they won't get anything happen to them.
Yeah, but do you know what pisses me off though about this? I'm sure YouTube feel all proud about this solution, but I'm sorry, unless you've been stuffing crayons up your nose for the last 5 hours, I don't see how this is an innovative solution.
No, I mean,
it's like...
This is what people have been asking for years.
It's not like... This is the type of thing where if you tell someone, okay, here's what's happening, here's the situation, it doesn't take a genius to figure out, well, just hold funds in escrow, which is essentially what this is doing, until the dispute is cleared up.
Yeah.
It's not difficult.
And I can't remember the exact time frame. I think it was a year, either a year or this year. I can't remember which. They said they'd cleared up like over 1 million false ones in that time.
I know. It's probably over that, to be honest.
Yeah, it's probably over that, to be honest.
I wouldn't be surprised if it's this year, because that would make sense.
It probably is this year, but I can't remember exactly. So, yeah. So, things are improving, but they still need, pardon me, further improving. Anyway,
right.
I think we've rambled on that one for long enough, so you pick the next one.
Well, I guess we might as well do the Sony rolling in it.
Yeah, Sony are making a lot of money, unsurprisingly.
Well, you know what? It's kind of funny, because when you sell digital content with no overheads for more expensive than the physical retail games, it's almost like you would make money on that.
Well, it's not just that, it's on the console itself, even though they're...
Oh, yeah, but it's the PSN, though, that's big.
Yeah, no, they made a ton of money on PSN.
More than Nintendo did.
Well, yeah.
Which gives me so much pleasure.
PSN made more money than the whole of Nintendo, which is just amusing and sad at the same time.
To be honest, I'm pretty sure that the little girl selling lemonade down the street is making more money than Nintendo at the moment. She's probably selling more units as well.
Yeah, so I think they sold like 17 million PS4s in the last fiscal year, and they've made an obscene amount of money, which is good, because they were in the red for a long time.
They were.
They were
hemorrhaging money.
They were bleeding money really bad for years, and I think it's only the last year or two maybe that they've actually started to make money again.
To be honest with you, it's lucky in a way. If you're a video game fan, whether you're Nintendo, so whether you're a Sony fan or not, it's really lucky that Sony are selling well with the PlayStation, because if not, they'd probably be finished. Like, there were a lot of reports, a lot of rumours going that they would be done if the PlayStation hadn't sold well.
I mean, if the PS4 had tanked, like the PS3 did.
And
I know the PS3 eventually bounced back, but it took a while. You know, at the start, PS3 was selling really poorly, and if that had happened again, we probably would be in a very different market right now. So, yeah.
It would have been dangerous and confusing and scary.
Yeah, so that's good. Sadly, no figures from Microsoft. They tend to keep stum about that sort of thing. So
it's weird.
I know. Speaking of Xbox, I guess we can move on to the Xbox Slim or Xbox Next or Xbox 1.5 or whatever the balls
I've just called it Sexbox.
Sexbox.
Yeah. Yeah.
So tell us what's new in Xbox land.
Well, the rumours, and you know how accurate rumours are,
Oh,
but
yeah.
they can be accurate, that's the
To be
thing.
fair, they've been fairly accurate as of late.
So, there's two potentials with the Sexbox.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
The first is that there's a slimline coming along.
I could see that.
So, I don't think I need to go through what a slimline is, but
Yeah.
basically it'll be just a lot smaller. It could potentially have 4K support. Now,
For
streaming. Blu-rays,
yeah.
that bollocks.
Yeah.
But the weird one, the one that is gobbling my goose, and you can take that as dirtily as you like, is that supposedly there's another Xbox that has been identified, and several insiders who are not related have corroborated different parts of different stories, but all the stories tie together.
Right.
So basically it's a tapestry of stories, but essentially one insider said that Microsoft, and this is not a verbatim quote, but pretty verbatim, is that they're testing components which would typically be used to upgrade a PC with the Xbox.
Okay.
Another insider said that Microsoft are, quote, think Xbox Elite.
Right.
Another insider has said that they're making a new controller to go with the new Xbox, which is potentially going to be a white colour and it's going to be more refined. I don't, to be honest with you, my personal opinion, I don't really know how you can improve the Xbox One controller.
No,
It's
the
pretty
Xbox One
damn
controller
awesome.
is fine.
The only thing that I'd possibly change, my personal opinion, is I'd possibly change the triggers just a little bit. But
yeah, I mean, when they say refine, they probably do literally mean small tweaks to certain elements.
unless they're going to add the PS4 touchpad, but to be honest with you, I think the PS4's touchpad has been kind of shitty.
The PS4 touchpad never gets used.
Yeah, it's
so.
basically a third button. It's basically another button at this point.
Yeah. So I doubt they're going that route.
So, but anyway, aside from that, so these rumours basically indicate that we could see a slimline model, and we could see a more powerful model of the Xbox. And supposedly all of this is going to be unveiled around E3. So, that's going to be interesting, because there's two different perspectives on this. One, we're going to see the slimline model reduced in cost significantly over the current Xbox. So let's say, for the sake of argument, it will come in, pulling a figure out my ass, about £200 for sake of argument, which would be the base model. Obviously it won't have any shiny stuff, but basically Microsoft are just going to use it as a way to get Windows 10 and UWP and all that bollocks into your living room. Basically the Microsoft ecosystem. And another person, some other individuals believe that you're going to see a more powerful Xbox as an alternative, which is going to have obviously much better graphics support, and that could potentially come out later this year / early next year. But the rub is, if you take Phil Spencer's comments regarding the Xbox, remember how he said that they're not interested in an incremental upgrade?
Yeah.
Everyone takes that verbatim quote. The problem is, what's incremental to the Xbox One is not incremental to Sony. For example, let's say the Xbox One's GPU, rounding figures up, is about 1.3 teraflops, right?
Mm-hmm.
The PS4's, rounding figures down, is about 1.8 teraflops. So if you double that for both, you get 2.6 and roughly 3.6.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yes.
So what you can start doing from that is you can start saying to yourself, well, if you times that by about 2.3, which is what the Xbox's is, so PS4's is, you get to about 4.2. And if you do the same for the Xbox One, and say that the GPU is going to be about 4.2, 4 teraflops, then that gets to about 3 times. So is 3 or 3.5 times more powerful? Is that an incremental upgrade anymore? It starts getting a very dicey situation.
Well, I think what he probably meant by that is the next Xbox they release is going to be the Xbox 2 or whatever. It's not going to be Xbox 1.5. I think that's what he meant, but again, I'm not Phil Spencer.
Because the fact of the matter is, if Sony are aiming to hit the PS4 Neo this year. Let's say the rumours have it that it's going to be released for Christmas-ish.
Yeah.
NX is going to be released next year.
Uh-huh.
March. We'll get to that.
Yes.
If Microsoft decide that the Xbox One is doing okay for now, they release a slimline for this year as a cost-reduced model. Let's say, once again for Christmas, and they make it bottom price. Then next year, let's say halfway-ish through the year, they release a cost-reduced, they release a fairly cheap, ultra-powerful Xbox One. It would be theoretically quite within potential possibility if one starts factoring in the fact that Vega's going to be out by then. You start factoring in the yields of 14nm are going to be a lot better, which means the clock speeds are going to be better. They could potentially release a GPU which is certainly 4.2, 4.4, but obviously all of this is hearsay, and it really depends on how you decide to interpret various rumours.
So basically, the TLDR of that is E3 is going to be interesting for both Sony and Microsoft, because I feel like if either of these things actually happen, it will be there that we learn that they exist.
My personal opinion, and this isn't based upon what I necessarily will happen, but my personal opinion of Microsoft and Sony, is I don't think Microsoft wants Sony to have another clear victory in terms of hardware performance.
Right.
So for them, so here's the tricky situation. For developers, you're going to get this problem where the GPU or the actual system is already going to be so far behind on the PS4 versus the Neo. So it's going to be really freaking weird with the Xbox One, which is quite literally, let's say, a third as powerful as the Neo. And then you've got the PS4, which is, you know, just...
I think what spurred both of them on is these rumblings about the NX supposedly being more powerful than them both.
No,
so
I think, to be honest, I don't...
They don't want Nintendo to come out and just kind of be like, here you go, here's a way more powerful machine.
To be honest, I think... I honestly don't think either company really gives a fuck about Nintendo. And the reason
I don't... They might have messed up with the Wii U, but they're still a force, you know?
Yeah, but the reason I say I don't think they care is because Nintendo haven't demonstrated the fact that they can appeal to the same market. And that's for A, and for B, I think that even if Nintendo literally had shift-deleted themselves, or they were the most successful in the market, or whether they were... I think whether Nintendo's Wii U had sold 1 billion consoles, or whether it had sold 0 consoles and Nintendo were bankrupt and out of the business, I think this isn't so much about the fact that they're scared about Nintendo. And don't get me wrong, there probably is a portion of that, but my opinion is it's probably also to do with the fact that developers are unhappy with the performance of the systems. And when you start factoring in virtual reality, when you start factoring in the hardware requirements of the next games, like, look how many games on the PS4 and Xbox One just can't even hit 900p 30 at this point.
Yeah, no, I was just going to say, I didn't mean that the NX is the sole reason. I think it's that, plus the fact that both of these consoles are already showing their age a little bit, and developers have already seemingly got all of that they can out of these machines. There's not really much more they can squeeze out.
Well,
as we've seen, as you said, where games failing to reach 900p and failing to reach a steady 30 frames per second.
Well, what I think... See, back in the day when Mark Cerny was talking about the PS4, he was saying a lot about asynchronous compute, which is basically you're putting compute workloads onto the GPU, right? The problem is, people assumed that this work was free. And it kind of is in some respects, because a graphics pipeline is essentially a set of commands. So if your GPU has a section of time, because it's all basically done in time frames. So let's assume, for the sake of argument, your game engine has a moment where, or you can insert parts of these commands into the game engine, and the game engine has, I guess, weights or queues where it can insert that without infecting the graphics graphics performance. Then great. The problem is, as developers get more used to their engines, and as developers manage to squeeze more performance out of those engines, you're not increasing the relative performance of the GPU. So by putting in all of these physics works, by putting in commands like, everything is basically becoming compute orientated now because the CPUs in these consoles are just not powerful enough. So basically, you're making the GPU do so much work.
Yeah, and we are only talking about like a Jaguar here.
Yeah, the CPU is only a Jaguar. And so you've got the GPU, which is, based on GCN. So it's like, plus, on top of that, you're now asking the developers to put out virtual reality. So I think I do agree. I think it's a combination of things. But we could talk about this for a lot longer.
Yes, we could. Last thing I wanted to talk about is From Software. They have, of course, said before, that being Hidetaka, that Dark Souls 3 would be the last of the Soulsborne
You could say it was The Last of Us.
Now, when he said this before, people were kind of unsure about the future of Bloodborne because he specifically said Dark Souls. And he hasn't outright said there won't be a Bloodborne sequel. His phrasing leads me to believe that From Software are done with this particular format that they've got. He basically said Dark Souls is over. He personally doesn't want, you never say never, but he personally is done working on it. If his subordinates, like the B team that did Dark Souls 2, want to make one,
no!
a few years down the line, he won't stop them. But in his opinion, it's finished. And he's basically said, we want to try new things. We want to try and make new types of games. So that leads me to believe that that also includes Bloodborne, because as different as Bloodborne is,
it's not that different.
It still has the core mechanics of a Souls type game. And from what he said, it seems like FromSoft have, they're happy with what they made, but they've had their fill, and now they want to move on and try something new. And I don't really blame them. They have now been making Souls-style games for, 5-6 years? Something silly like that?
I personally, I'm not the biggest Souls fan in the world. I like the games, but I'm not like, oh my god, what the fuck, barbecue. Like, if you told me, okay, well, you're never going to have, let's say, another Uncharted game, or another Final Fantasy, or something like that, or you can have Dark Souls, I'd definitely choose no Dark Souls. But, with that said, I really enjoy the atmosphere, I really enjoy the lore, and I really enjoy the gameplay. So, I do hope that that's not accurate. I hope that we see a Bloodborne 2. But my big concern, it's like, let's assume, for sake of argument, that they do that. It's like, they're so good at that. Let's assume that is accurate and they never release another one. It's like, they're so good at that type of games. In other words, just because you can move away from something, I don't necessarily mean they should.
Yeah, I mean, they might still carry on some of those ideas in another IP, but from what he said, they want to try new things. So they might give that formula a rest for a bit and then come back to it a few years later. He did say, I won't say never, but for now I think it's over, basically, and he seemed to think that he's done. He's satisfied.
I guess at that point, though, what else can they do with Dark Souls?
I mean, the thing is, like, there's only so much they can do with this type of formula before they start repeating themselves. And they have repeated themselves a little bit already with Dark Souls 3. So I'm happy that it's ending with Dark Souls 3, because while I'm sad that there won't be any more Dark Souls, because even though I'm not very good at Dark Souls, I do enjoy the games a lot, I would rather the games end with a flourish than just be driven into the ground with sequel after sequel just because money, and then it ends because the last one didn't sell very well because it was crap. I would rather it end on a high note, which seems like it's
Plus,
doing
at least
with
we got a
3.
DLC.
Yeah, there's DLC, and there's first piece is not even out till the fall of this year, and then the second piece is not even out till next year. So we've got a while before Dark Souls 3 is over.
That reminds me, actually, I need to play Bloodborne's DLC.
Yeah, but the main thing is they're making a new IP, and they also touched on the topic of Armored Core, which a lot of people have been asking if they're going to touch on again, and they said that they definitely want to go back to that. So happy days. Although they did say
Never played the originals.
No, I'm not played that, to be honest. But I know a lot of people.
Actually, I lie. I played the demo of number 1, I think.
Okay, I know a lot of people were asking, but what about Armored Core? And he said that they do want to go back to that, but for now they want to work on a new IP. Something else I was going to say as well. Oh, And he also said no to a Demon's Souls remaster, which is kind of a shame. I think that would be a good option to bring to PS4, but if they don't want to do it, they don't want to do it.
Pretty much.
So, I mean, as for what they want them to do, something sci-fi would be pretty cool. I'd like to see them take on that. I mean, my dream, as I've said many times, is for them to do a straight-up horror game. I think they would excel at that, but I don't know if they will.
Yeah, that could be pretty good.
I don't know if they will do that or no. I don't know, but...
To be honest, I just want them to go and do whatever they want.
Yeah.
And I just want to see what they come up with.
Yeah, I'm interested to see what it is that they're working on, because he said it's already in development, so... It'll probably be next year we see the first teaser for it.
And then 5 years later we actually get to play it.
Yeah, probably knowing them. But yeah, I'm interested to see what
I'd be curious whether they release it on the NX.
I mean, if they think they can make money from it, they probably will. Right, so shall we do the question that we have this week?
Sure.
It's from Oystein Lizeth, and I probably butchered your name, so apologies for that. Rather lengthy question, but bear with us.
That's what she said.
When do you think we will see VR headsets with 4K display and HDR? I'm thinking of buying Pascal GP100 when that comes out, but if that only has DP 1.3, to me it seems like a bit of a waste of money, as DP 1.3 can only handle 4K HDR 60Hz, correct me if I'm wrong. Or will we see a HDMI interface that can handle 4K HDR 90Hz or above? The reviews so far of the VR headset say there's a screen door effect still, so I'm thinking that I will hold off until we get VR headsets with 4K and HDR, but maybe a long wait.
Yeah, I mean, you're right about the display port. I mean, 1.4 is definitely going to fix those issues. I mean, I did bring up Wikipedia pages, to be honest with you, because I'd forgotten about the requirements, if I'm totally honest, and they're basically saying the DisplayPort 1.4 was published in March 2016, and obviously that means that you can start going up to a ridiculous sort of resolution and frame rate, which is obviously a good thing, and higher color depth. So, for example, you can start doing absolutely crazy things. You can do 4K UHD at 120 Hz with 10-bit color, which is obviously when you start getting to really HDR quality. But it's mostly the display technology, and it's going to be a while. And by which I mean affordability as well, because really most of these displays really are just, well, mobile phone displays, quite literally. And if you look at the screen technology already, I mean the VR headsets are so expensive for most people. So for them to release like a 4K bloody... So I mean, for example, just picking on the Oculus Rift for a moment, you've got 1080 by 1200 resolution per eye, excuse me, at 90 Hz refresh rate. The field of view is pretty good though, it's around 110, and obviously the Vive and others are pretty comparable. So it's like, it's just a bit weird, to be honest, because although these headsets are pretty awesome, you know, the technology is pretty advanced, but obviously by the time, you know, 2017/18 rolls around, we're going to start seeing their successors. Obviously...
yeah, I mean, but I don't see us going up to 4K VR anytime soon, because these are already incredibly expensive to produce and to buy. I mean, Oculus, even though the headset costs like $600, they have said they are not selling it at profit.
Yeah, but it's actually not just that. The big issue, to be honest, is you've got this chicken and egg situation where to run these things, you've already got the minimum of GTX 970 or the equivalent of an R9 290. So it's like, imagine trying to put out 4K per eye. Now, when I was doing the Capsaicien breakdown and analysis, and AMD was saying that they don't want that. Even during my interview with Robert Hallock, they were talking about 16K by 16K at 240 Hz per eye on HDR is what they're aiming for. But you've got this chicken and egg situation where you've got the display technology itself and the GPU to run the darn thing. So I think, to be honest with you, if you're... I mean, I don't know whether you've tried virtual reality headsets, personally. I mean, from what I've used the DK2. I've not used the final version, and honestly, it was pretty good for me. So I think that obviously the full version is going to be pretty damn nice. But if you're concerned about it, try using it or waiting for it to become normal, and then trying it out around a friend's or around a display room or a showroom. But honestly, I don't think you're going to have much of a big deal. I think the quality is pretty awesome.
Yeah, I mean, again, I've also only used a DK2. I've yet to use the full version, but from what I've heard, the Rift and the Vive are both really, really good. And while there are some issues with it, of course, they seem to be pretty awesome and they seem to be received pretty well. I've heard that the Rift is the better of the two simply because of the game library available. And of course, ships, Eve Valkyrie is available as soon as you come in, which is obviously, first-person sort of space exploration game thing. So it's got some pretty impressive games on there. But I don't think the resolution is a key issue at the minute. The main thing that you want is a high frame rate, of course, and we're not going to get that if we start cranking up the demands of the headset by putting in 4K display.
I think I think in a few years' time we're going to have like GPUs which are just insanely powerful.
Oh, I'm sure, yeah.
But I mean, let's face it. To be honest, by the time Pascal GP100 comes out, I mean, that by itself is going to cost a lot of money. But obviously, if you're wealthy enough, affluent enough to be able to afford a GP100, especially if you're going through SLI, like you've got 2 or 3 of them running concurrently, then you're going to easily be able to run 4K without too much of a big deal.
I mean, if I were you, I'd say see if there's any like maybe public demos or people with a Rift. Just try it, because I feel like once you try it, you'll see it. It really is one of those things that you need to try and see for yourself.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, here's the other thing. I've heard some people have motion sickness, whereas others don't. Like,
yeah, it's a very mileage varies rather.
Yeah, I mean, some people were getting nauseous with the DK2 in about 2 seconds flat, whereas I didn't have that. I could play for long periods of time without much of an issue. So I think some of this is going to be your perception and
I mean, I don't really get simulation sickness, and I did have a couple of sort of moments with the DK2 when my tummy was like a bit unhappy, but it passed quickly, and I think it was just that we were playing games on it that weren't really built for VR.
Yeah, that's also the other deal.
So obviously it was weird, and you could tell that if things weren't quite configured correctly, and obviously now there are games built for VR. So.
I mean, I am a little disappointed that neither Pascal or Polaris, from the rumours, have DisplayPort 1.4, but I guess from the perspective of Polaris, it's not too much of a big deal, because basically they're going more for, from what we've been told anyway, they're going for the more mainstream, so they're basically trying to bring down the price of hardware to run virtual reality headsets. So we can only just wait and see, to be honest, over the next year or so. My advice to you is, if you've got a fairly decent rig, just keep what you've got and see what happens with GP100 or the equivalent of Vega 10. On the other hand, if you're able to try out a Rift or something equivalent, do so, see what you think, because some people have noticed screen door effects, others haven't.
Yeah, I think it really is a thing where no one can tell you what it's going to be like for you. You can tell you the general experience, like just generally what people see. Or
I think it's also a lot to do with your eyes as well.
Yeah, and whether or not you wear glasses and that sort of thing. I mean, and obviously we don't know if you do, but I've heard that for people with glasses is not an issue, getting them on your face or anything. But obviously with that added lens, you are kind of getting more flare and stuff like that as well. But
yeah,
it really is just one of those things where if there's like a convention or something near you, where they're having it publicly available to try, I would recommend that you take the time to do that.
I know this doesn't sound like a particularly solid answer, but the problem with virtual reality at the moment is it's a big investment, and although
it's a lot of money,
and by which I don't mean necessarily even the monetary funds, I more meant the buying into it, because although people will tell you that these are not prototype hardware, they're very early models, and you know, it doesn't take more than a few seconds of Googling to realise that there are going to be follow-ups to the Oculus Rift and the Vive, and those are obviously going to be a lot more refined, and they're going to fix the issues with both these headsets, and neither are perfect.
Yeah, but I think it's going to be a couple of years before we see a Oculus 2 or Vive 2 or whatever, so if you really want to get on VR now, I'd say go for it, as long as, you know, you don't have any bad experiences, but it might be worth waiting until the game library improves.
Well, good luck trying to get them at this point anyway.
I mean, it's not like they're publicly available at the moment anyway, so you might as well just wait, see what happens with the games, see what happens with public reception, and just go from there, because there's a lot of money to throw down, especially when you consider the PC you need to run them both.
Alright, anyway.
I think that's us done for this week.
Yeah, it's a bit longer than normal.
Yeah, we've overrun by quite a little bit, but still,
yeah,
it was bound to happen eventually. This is the TangentCast after all. Tangent ahoy and all that good stuff.
Yeah, I'm going to assume a lot of people have watched us over like 2-3 sittings.
Maybe not.
Yeah. Depends how much you love us.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Depends if you're watching this on the toilet. It's gonna be a good session.
It's gonna be a long toilet trip. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, thank you very much for listening, guys. We'll see you next week.
Bye. Take care.
Pretty much.
Wait, that was my line. You cannot steal. Pretty much.